A very good afternoon and thanks for joining us. This is NTV at 1 on this Monday morning with me, Smriti Vidyarthi, coming to you live from the Nation Centre. As always, plenty lined up for you. We'll bring you the very latest with Laila Mohammed regarding the meeting that took place between stakeholders on the issue of education and when students are set to go back to school. Well, we don't know yet, but what we do know is that teachers are expected back to school on Monday, September 28th to prepare for a possible reopening of schools at a date to be announced by the head of state. This was the main talking point after education stakeholders met this morning to deliberate on the modalities of going back to school. But as Laila Mohammed informs us, a resumption date is yet to be announced. Laila, we still don't have the answer that we've all been waiting for.
Well, Smriti, the question of when the children will be back in the classroom is still hanging in the balance. The jury is still out on that matter. The Ministry of Education now insists that the possible dates that have been released within media platforms are just but confusing parents across the country, and this is only creating more tension amongst many players in this sector that has seen students away from the classroom physically for the last 7 months or so. But that indication of telling teachers to go back to schools on the 28th, which is Monday next week, is a sign that the possibility of schools reopening before the January proposed date is now a reality. Children now have to prepare themselves mentally and physically to go back to the classroom as the Ministry of Education now plans for the timetable and how things will happen. Possibly they will be looking at the classes that are expected to do the examinations. They might be given the highest priority, but this timetable will be delivered to the public as and when the ministry says it is fit. But for the moment, let's listen in to Professor George Magoha and TSC CEO Nancy Macharia.
And we are therefore now asking our teachers to report back to schools on Monday, the 28th of September, to prepare for the eventual opening of schools.
In terms of the basic education, which is where you have become the experts, you are telling me what we are doing. You are telling me what we are doing. But I want to tell you that this morning we have agreed on a timetable which you will only get if you are corrupt and you should not be alive. Because the right person to give that information is not even myself. I will take the recommendations to the larger committee, and the larger committee will look at it, and if they agree, then we shall send it for concurrence to the person who will then announce to you when the schools will reopen.
So Smriti, as the good professor himself says, Magoha, son of Magoha, that date exactly will be announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta, or if he delegates that duty to the CS of Education himself, then the public will be in a position to know when students are expected back to school. But he spoke on various issues. The whole issue around the desks that are being provided, he says, while some people in the sector say that this is not a priority, he has been to every corner of the country and he has realized there are some schools who are in dire need of desks. So the 1.9 billion Kenya shillings that was funded by the national government towards that project will continue. And he says as long as he is the CS of Education, then that money will go to the right channels that it has been intended for. He's also speaking about the TVET education, and he says the decision by the ministry to change around some principles of this technical facilities is within line of the rules of government. And he says no fair play will be part of this execution, as well as other issues. So for the moment, basic education will now go back to when and where the president will announce this. But he also says that for the university education, those who are doing their sciences and who are in their final year of schooling, then they will be allowed back into their laboratories to do the physical education that they need to. But at the moment, the whole cloud of uncertainty continues for parents parents. But as teachers go back to school to lay down the best laid plans for when to resume classes, we will be here to get information for you, as well as when exactly COVID-19 will have ended for students to be able to go back to class. Smriti.